The mining spaceship Borealis drifts silently through space, carrying a crew of miners in cryogenic sleep. They still have 4 years left before reaching their destination. Without warning, an asteroid changes course and heads directly for the ship. The collision is catastrophic, triggering alarms and forcing the ship's emergency protocols into action. The onboard AI, Leonard, detects the impact and initiates the evacuation process, ejecting the cryopods one by one into the void. Inside one of the pods, Andy, a miner, is abruptly awakened by Leonard. The AI quickly assembles his spacesuit around him, secures his helmet, and restores his oxygen supply. As the pods are ejected, many are destroyed in the explosion or burn up in the planet's atmosphere. Andy's pod barely survives, plummeting toward an unknown world. Just as it is about to crash into a hill, Leonard takes control, adjusting the pod's trajectory to soften the impact. Despite his efforts, Andy's landing is rough, and he is knocked unconscious. A vision of his family jolts Andy awake. Disoriented, he checks his surroundings and finds himself in a stormy, mountainous landscape. Attempting to contact the Borealis through his radio, he receives only silence. Suddenly, the ground trembles, and Leonard warns him to leave the pod. Andy struggles to open the door, but it is jammed. Searching the emergency kit, he realizes he has no flare gun. His low rank meant he wasn't given one. Desperate, he uses a fire extinguisher to break the pod's window. But as he tries to escape, the unstable ground shifts, flipping the pod onto its side. The broken glass slices through his suit, causing a dangerous oxygen leak. Leonard urges him to seal the tier quickly, and Andy uses a repair spray just in time. Then the AI alerts him to another problem: the pod is on fire. Andy scrambles out, grabbing his son's toy, the last thing he has from home. He watches in horror as the Borealis, now engulfed in flames, crashes into the planet. The explosion sends a shockwave that knocks Andy off his feet. When he regains his footing, he asks Leonard where they are, only to learn they are in an unmapped star system, far from their intended destination. In the distance, he spots a light and begins heading toward it, hoping it belongs to another survivor. As he makes his way through the rocky terrain, he stumbles upon the wreckage of another cryopod. Inside, he finds a dead crew member and an oxygen tank. Fighting his fear, he retrieves the tank only to realize it is damaged and useless. Frustrated, he moves on, not noticing the blood and claw marks on the outside of the pod. Eventually, he reaches the light source, a makeshift SOS station set up by another survivor, Dwayne. Relieved to see another human, Andy listens as Dwayne explains that the company had taken a shortcut through an asteroid belt to save fuel, leading to their crash. Dwayne, a communications officer, has already sent a distress signal to Earth, but the bad news is that it will take 8 months to reach home and another 2 years for a rescue ship to arrive. Andy struggles with the thought of surviving that long, but Dwayne remains optimistic. He suggests they search for the other half of the Borealis, where they might find supplies to help them endure. Just as Andy begins to feel a sliver of hope, something grabs Dwayne and drags him away into the darkness. Andy turns, but Dwayne is gone. There's no time to process what happened. He finishes transmitting the distress signal, takes Dwayne's gun, and sets off toward the wreckage alone. As he walks, his radio suddenly crackles to life. Another survivor, Naomi, is trapped in her pod with her legs pinned. She begs Andy for help, but Leonard warns him that heading toward her will deplete his oxygen supply. Naomi insists she has enough oxygen for both of them, convincing Andy to take the risk. Along the way, the two talk, learning bits about each other's lives. The conversation is a welcome distraction from the growing sense of unease Andy feels as he travels through the alien landscape. As night falls, Andy begins to notice strange movements in the darkness. He asks Leonard to scan the area, but the AI is unable to. Naomi recognizes Leonard's model and reveals it is an outdated AI the company used to save money. Andy dismisses his paranoia until he notices odd footprints leading to a large hole covered in cobwebs. Realizing these are not just holes, but tunnels, Andy's fear grows. He walks faster, trying to ignore the unsettling feeling that he is being watched. Then the growling begins. Naomi warns him that multiple crew trackers are moving toward him, but when he checks, the signals belong to people who should already be dead. Before he can react, a flare ignites the sky, revealing massive spider-like creatures with scorpion-like tails crawling toward him. Andy panics and runs, but one of the creatures lunges at him, causing him to slip and fall into a crack in the ground. The spider above slams its legs into the opening, trying to reach him. Scrambling to his feet, Andy sprints through the narrow terrain, barely dodging each attack. Eventually, he tumbles down a slope, his fall cushioned by the snow. He looks up to see the spider glaring at him from above, but not following him down. Leonard alerts Andy that his oxygen is critically low. Before he can figure out what to do, Dwayne's voice crackles through the radio. He is alive, but under attack. Naomi urges Andy to help, pointing out that Dwayne has oxygen he could use. Andy hesitates, but the thought of oxygen wins out, and he races toward Dwayne's location. However, by the time he arrives, it's too late. Dwayne is overpowered and dragged away, his screams fading into silence. Andy barely has time to mourn before another spider spots him. Naomi helps distract the creature by activating lights in a nearby pod, giving Andy the chance to escape. Running blindly into a foggy area, he notices something glowing, a mesmerizing swarm of fireflies. They emit a soft, beautiful light, but as one lands on his helmet, it suddenly turns red and begins attacking. More fireflies turn red, swarming him. Andy sprints away, barely escaping. Before he can recover, the ground beneath him shifts, and a massive creature's mouth opens, swallowing him whole. Trapped inside the beast's fleshy interior, Andy panics, calling out to Leonard. He claims to be having a heart attack. Triggering his suit's built-in defibrillator, the electric shock causes the creature to violently regurgitate him, spitting him back onto the rocky surface. Weak and exhausted, Andy presses on toward Naomi. He reaches her pod just as his oxygen runs out, and she quickly shares her supply with him. Together, they begin their trek toward the wreckage of the Borealis, but the spiders soon catch up. Naomi, injured, struggles to keep moving. She injects herself with morphine to numb the pain as Andy helps her along. They make it to the ship, sealing the doors just as a spider lunges inside, getting trapped and sliced in half. Thinking they are safe, they begin searching the ship, only to find signs that the creatures have already infiltrated. A massive spider emerges, blocking their escape. Andy devises a desperate plan: use a cargo pod as a weapon. He climbs to the highest platform, prepares the pod for launch, and waits for the right moment. Naomi lures the spider into position, and Andy ejects the pod, crushing the beast. The impact knocks Andy unconscious. Naomi rushes to his side, crying as she thinks he's dead. But after several tense moments, he wakes up. Relieved, she helps him to his feet. They stand together, watching the sunrise on the alien planet, knowing they have nearly 2 years to wait for rescue if it ever comes. If the company that abandoned them in the first place even bothers to send help.